Hello, welcome to the NACE workshop series. Today we will be going into the competency critical thinking. So the NACE stands for the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and the 8 is for the 8 career readiness competencies that recruiters and employers are consistently looking for in students. They are the 8 traits that help students stand out, succeed in their roles, internships, full-time roles, and also prepares them for long-term career success. So these are the NACE 8 competencies. They are the 8 traits that answer the question, what qualities are employers and recruiters looking for? And today we'll be talking about critical thinking. So the NACE 8 definition of critical thinking is identify and respond to needs based on an understanding of situational context and logical analysis of relevant information. So it means understanding the context of a situation and analyze it to come to a conclusion using the relevant information. So when things are messy or unclear, you don't just wing it or freeze, but you actually look at what's going on, you get the information that you need, and based on that, you make a smart call. And this is what critical thinking is. Some sample behaviors of critical thinking is to make decisions and solve problems, use sound, inclusive reasoning and judgment, gather and analyze information from a wide set of sources and people so that you can fully understand a problem, proactively anticipate needs, prioritize action steps, accurately summarize and interpret data, be aware of personal biases when interpreting data, effectively communicate actions and rationale, and recognize the diverse perspectives and lived experiences of others. Additionally, be able to multitask well in a fast-paced environment. So, critical thinking as a competency is all about the decision making, the judgment, the reasoning, and the information behind problems that helps you analyze them adequately and then solve them. So, what does all of this actually look like? It looks like gathering information from multiple sources before coming to a conclusion, anticipate what is needed before being asked, factor in different perspectives and different experiences, handle multiple things in a fast-paced environment, communicate your reasoning clearly to others on why you are doing things a certain way, and make sound decisions even when you don't have all of the information that would be ideal to have. So we can look at this as a three-part framework. First is notice. So being attentive and alert. Notice when something is wrong, missing, or unclear. So for example, the data has a gap in timeframes. Number two of the three-part framework is to gather. So collect information from people, data, and other sources. And it's really important in this stage to be resourceful. So, for example, you reached out to your senior associate or you looked at the data from the prior year. If this is an option, it is always great to look at what has been the framework in past years so that you can refer back to that. And number three is to decide. So, based on the step one, noticing, and step two, gathering, make a call and be able to clearly explain and communicate why. So, for example, I chose X because of Y. So, that reasoning is also a key part of the critical thinking and analytical framework. Now, moving on to metacognition. Metacognition means thinking about your thinking. So, meta behind the cognition. It is the ability to notice how you approach problems, make decisions, and learn new information. So you're thinking about your own thinking processes, your habits, how you make choices, and how you learn. Metacognition matters for critical thinking because it helps you slow down and question your first initial reaction. Then it makes your reasoning more intentional because you have that initial pause of your first reaction, and it helps you catch assumptions before they shape your decisions and how you actually act. It also improves how you evaluate information, not just what you conclude. So that ties into the learning part. Metacognition is about how you learn, how you think, and identifying these processes makes you a better critical thinker and better at analyzing information. Metacognition matters for career readiness because interns and early career professionals are judged on judgment, not just skills. It helps you recognize when you need help versus when you can solve something for yourself when you recognize those processes. It also makes you better at learning new tools, roles, and expectations quickly because you're understanding how you learn. And it strengthens communication because you understand how you reached a conclusion, which helps you communicate why you reached it. It also builds self-awareness, which employers consistently are ranking as a top competency. So being able to think about how your thought processes impact your actions, that is a very self-aware and very rare thing to have. So it makes you stand out amongst employers. So just for some metacognition prompts to think about, number one, what did I change my mind about this week or recently? Why? So these are just prompts to think about and get the gears turning on metacognition and about how you think and process things. So this is step one, and you can pause and answer that for yourself. And then number two, what study strategies do I usually use for exams? How effective are they? What parts fall short? What can I improve to have better outcomes? So again, you can pause and reflect on these questions. And thinking about study strategies is directly relatable to how you learn. This will also translate to the workforce because, for example, if you learn from handwritten notes, then that is something that you can implement going forward in the workforce, and you have to handwrite instructions to better learn them and to have better outcomes. And then number three, what is something you learned about yourself recently? So again, you can just pause and think about that. And this can also be at a personal or at a professional level. And number four, what helps you understand something faster? Seeing it, hearing it, or doing it. So this is again back to the learning piece. And number five, what kind of environment helps you think clearly? So is it a quiet library? Is it a busy coffee shop? Is it headphones in, headphones out? What kind of environment helps you study, helps you solve problems, and how can this help you in the workforce going forward? Number six, what is one question you wished you asked yourself more often? Again, this can be at a professional level, at an academic level, or at a personal level. And now about forming connections. A key part of critical thinking is forming connections between new information and what you already know. So, as you're learning, actively ask yourself, how does this relate to concepts I've encountered before? Does it support, contradict, or expand my existing understanding? What questions does this raise that I haven't answered yet? You can use connections as a tool to deepen your understanding, and that we can do this as college students by forming connections across the classes that we are taking and relating concepts across different sectors of industries or fields. And a note on AI dependency. Over-reliance on AI can weaken critical thinking, analyzing, and problem solving. So don't confuse quick answers from an AI chatbot with deep understanding of your own. Anytime you use AI, analyze AI output before implementing it into your own decisions. Evaluate and edit AI output before presenting information to your manager or your team. Fully understand what you're presenting. Do not let AI do all of the work for you without your understanding of the subject matter. So, AI can definitely be a helpful tool, which we will talk about, but it is important to not over rely on AI for things that you are able to do yourself and things that don't affect your productivity or efficiency. Maybe it is not necessary to use AI for certain tasks, although AI is definitely a helpful tool in some areas. So, AI is a tool. Ask for explanations, comparisons, and alternatives. Challenge ideas. What are the limitations or biases? Cross-check information for accuracy and reflect and form your own conclusions. So again, very important to not just claim AI output as your own, but to think through it, use it as a tool to brainstorm, to make comparisons, and to challenge concepts. You can also use it to identify limitations, but always cross-check information. Any information that it gives you, make sure to check from the source. And if you are presenting something at work, make sure that it is something that you have personally verified, not a fact that AI has given you in case that there is a hallucination there. And as for describing critical thinking on your resume, an example for describing critical thinking can be identified gap or problem by reviewing sources, proposed solution that resulted in outcome. So that is similar to the three-part framework that we were working with earlier. And the interview or answer for describing critical thinking can be when I noticed something unclear, I reached out to people or sources, and remember to be resourceful, to get the full picture. I decided to action, which led to results. Before jumping to a solution, I investigated what I also considered perspective that you might have missed. The decision came down to reasoning. Here's what happened. Outcome. So this is just a framework to familiarize yourself with how you might describe critical thinking in an interview or in your resume, but it is very helpful to have those ideas on the top of your brain for if you are on an interview and you want to explain your critical thinking skills. And as for developing critical thinking, participate in classroom discussions. Being engaged in the classroom is one of the best places to start. So being engaged with your professor, with your peers, and with the course material, just being present, being there, and actively taking in the information is already an absolutely amazing way to develop your critical thinking. Furthermore, you can evaluate the reliability of information sources used for research papers. So not just what source is it, but also how reliable is this narrator, this speaker, this author, evaluate the reliability of the information sources. Then get involved in research projects with faculty, join a debate team, start a metacognition journal, which is the prompts that we started thinking about. There are many more out there. So if you are interested in getting more familiar with your own learning processes, you can start a metacognition journal. And then you can ask, what evidence supports my view? What might I be missing? So looking at those missing pieces, that's going to make you a really good critical thinker by analyzing what might be missing as well as the information that you already have. And again, being able to form decisions without every piece of information that would be ideal reflects the real world. And for showing critical thinking, share examples of how you've utilized critical thinking skills in school or work projects. Consider writing your process of thinking and action for a project, placing emphasis on critical thinking-based decisions on a resume or LinkedIn. Prepare for interviews by having detailed examples ready that demonstrate how you've used critical thinking to solve problems. And thank you so much for listening to the NASATE workshop on critical thinking.